It's very hard to start posting if every time you post, you think of what you're gonna post. And usually a list of topics also doesn't help. So what I think is helping is content formats. I'm not talking about formats in terms of carousels, images, video. The allegory I have here is a restaurant. So when you're coming to a restaurant, if they don't have a menu and you're just telling the chef what to cook, it's gonna be a mess. So you go to the restaurant, you get the menu, and you can pick. And that's how you should feel. Come in Sunday, you're thinking, what am I gonna post about this week? And it should be like a menu. So what's the process I'm talking about? And this is the process I'm actually using with clients. So the first step is think of all the possible formats you can come up with. So this step is actually after the steps we already talked about of strategy. So this doesn't come out of the blue. You also have your own preference, and you can just think of formats you see on LinkedIn or wherever you post. So for example, success stories if you're working with clients, stories you have from the past, challenges at work, building in public. So for example, Celine, you're always working on a certain project. Sharing that is super helpful for other people like you. Client questions, framework you're thinking about in your work, podcast clips if you have a podcast yourself or if you interview for a different podcast, teasers of something upcoming you're working on, and the most common point of view posts, which is what you usually see. And there are a lot more you can think of. Actually, if you have the strategy and you feed it to ChatGPT and you give a few examples from the top of your head, it will give you a lot more formats. The problem with POV posts, which are the most common, like giving this philosophy post, the problem is it's not really helping your personal brand because you're not telling the world something about your business or service or upcoming business or service. At the end of the day, we do want to sell something. We should be aware that if we're putting out our random thoughts, our point of views, however articulate they might be, they might not make the right impression for our audience. So the second step is actually to refute the formats, to go through each of the formats you thought of and try to say why not to do them. Let's go through some refuting questions. What will potential clients think of me? People don't talk about it. And this matters. You don't just want to follow what you care about. If you're posting your philosophy, your opinions, you should look at things from the perspective of your potential client. What would they think? And probably they need to think this person is an expert. This person is actually doing stuff in the real world. Otherwise, it just looks like something AI can create. Second question, how much prep, design, and production does this require? So some creators, that's all they do. They spend all their time pushing out carousels and doing it in a studio. And I don't know the whole story of those people who are very successful. Those are the people we look to get examples from. So you go to LinkedIn, we find a post with 200, 300 likes, and we say, I need to do that because that's the most successful. Wrong. If this takes too much preparation, it's not right for you, especially if you're a founder or an employee who has another job. You can get to success without having the highest production value that takes you a week to produce. So think about the production. How long will it take you to produce? Does this format require authority I haven't earned yet? We need to stay at our lane. We can aspire to share a bit more, but we need to take that into consideration. Will this format make me feel exposed in a bad way? So yeah, if it's too emotional, if we're sharing things, sometimes we push publish and then we feel bad that we published it. How will you cope with this during a busy week? So this is, I'm sure it's relevant for a lot of you. Like, you are having the busiest week. What can you do? Maybe some of the formats will be a good fit for a week where you have more resources. And those weeks where you're super busy, but you're still doing stuff. Let's say if you have a busy week, but you are still out for a run, you can turn that into a selfie post. Or you're in a busy week, but you've completed something at work, you don't have to dedicate a specific time to do it. Okay, so basically we went through a bunch of questions, but there are a lot of questions and they all revolve around 3 core areas. So when you're thinking about the formats, it's super important to get the right formats in the beginning. So those areas are basically myself. Does this format fit with my schedule, with my expertise, with my motivation? Second is my audience. Will it resonate? Will they find it interesting? On the one hand, will they see me as the authority for this format that I'm posting? Would that improve my authority? And third is my product and service. It should align somehow. I'm trying to accomplish some sort of business goal. I'm not doing this just for fun. The third and final step is going through the actual workflow. So here, first I skimmed all the formats. Now when I chose the formats, I'm gonna think of the entire workflow step by step of creating it. If, for example, I'm trying to do a carousel and I'm gonna hit a wall because I can't design the carousel, that's a problem in the workflow. So I'm gonna need to even sketch out every step of the production and how long it takes, what are the bottlenecks. And the other way you can check it is actually do a pilot. You don't have to commit, and you can do a pilot. This is how it works for TV shows. It can work for social media content. So I wanted to give you a tangible example. So this is a SEO/GEO specialist service provider, and they have a specific goal. They want to get clients. So what are the possible formats that they can do? Obviously, news. SEO, it's very related to news. It's constantly updating. That format needs to be aligned with the fact that they're following news, okay, on a regular basis. So that's an investment of time. Client questions, if they get them, they can turn it into a content. Comments on others SEO specialists take. So SEO, there's a lot of controversy, Ahrefs. So if they comment, they can post a screenshot of the comment and get that extra attention. Let's quickly go over other things. Client strategies, client results, common SEO mistakes, weekly site audits. So this is the 6 steps. You map out the possible formats you're considering. Then you try to refute them. You go through the workflow, looking how it works. You select for yourself 8 formats that you think will be right for you. And these are your formats. That's it. You write them on a blackboard, and now come Sunday, you know what you need to go through. You go through each one and say, can I do this? Sometimes you really want to do a format. You really want to do a case study, but you don't have results yet. You need to wait 2-3 months. So that's not a good format for you, no matter how important it can be to your business. Create a strategic rotation. So someone asked me regarding the mix. Do you go through a set mix? And I don't think it's right to have a very rigid order because, again, we talked about you have a hectic week and a week with more resources. You need to adapt. Also, your interests change. Something happened in the news. So you should mix it around and not do the same thing over and over again. And then the last step is build templates for each format. So templates is not just visual, but can be templates for carousel, templates for video. So when you're creating them, it's much easier. Nowadays, almost every post needs a visual. Like there's almost no reason to do a post on LinkedIn without a visual. So take that into account. It's important to think of what I do and what my audience does. I'll give an example for myself. I help founders create content. So I can't only share my work finding founder clients, etc. I need to think, what are they looking for? What are founders looking for? For example, they're looking for users for the product, and find alignment. Ask yourself, what is the impression I want to give? Impression could be like, I want to be seen as an expert. I want to be seen as someone with data points. I want to be seen as someone who's active on conferences. Different formats translate to different impressions for your target audience. Documenting plus AI makes a lot of sense. So again, that's the same point. If you're just documenting what you're doing, let's say you have a sales call, you get a transcript, you throw it to AI, then you can get a post that's genuine to your work, but still very fast to produce. It's not the same as AI slop. Show, don't tell, super important. Whatever format you choose, always think about how can I show it, because that's a common mistake. Like just talking about like some theoretical thing instead of showing numbers, showing a piece from your work. The final thing is don't stop because it doesn't generate likes. So you're starting, you're sharing it. The first time you post might not generate likes. You need to do it over and over again and find other indicators that it's working.